Okay, before I start, I just want to clarify 2 points. One is that I've been in Singapore for 17 years working for the small and medium enterprise sector, and I've seen it all. I've seen the creation of new businesses, small companies that have grown very large over time, 5 years, 10 years, and the source of innovation that has sparked that company. So my frame of reference is Singapore, and then I come to Dubai. There's a total different set of dynamics. That's the first point. The second point I want to make is that I'm a geographer by training. So when I look at cities, I always look at the hierarchies of cities, and cities drive certain economic value. So globally, when I look at innovation, there is a certain hierarchy of innovation where either you buy innovation or you make innovation. So with that in mind, I want you to keep these two thoughts in mind, and then as you go along, ask yourself some questions so that we can have a fruitful discussion later on. So I want to look at the state and context of innovations of Dubai's economy as well as the SME sector. Now, whenever I look at innovation as an activity, I always look at 2 points. You either the supply side and the demand side. The supply side would be the origination of innovation. Where does innovation come from? Domain knowledge, cross-fertilization. I love this word collaboratory. The collaboratory word is a trademark word coming from DuPont. They show it in the BBC series on how different researchers from disciplines come together to form a research project. Technical know-how, application, prototyping, and test bedding. These are the words that commonly associate with the supply side of innovation. And then what is the buyers of innovation, or the demand side, which is the new market makers? You need to have a market maker for innovation. Valuation, how do you evaluate innovation? How do you monetize it? How do you commercialize it? And that's the tricky part of innovation. The investor market, do we have an appetite for taking risks in innovation? Because innovation can be a risky thing. Researchers are not known to be entrepreneurs. That's where the difference is. You can be an entrepreneur buying and selling, trading to different customers, but is that innovative? May not be so. Now, 2 types of innovation, the single track. And I'd like to point this out that over the last 2 decades, with the explosion of genetics, stem cell engineering, ICT, post Y2K, there was an explosion of getting the source of innovation. So this was the traditional source until 1990s. But if you look at the 2000 onwards, 1990s onwards, you find that in most economic development plans of Europe, Asia, the Asian tigers, there's a major significant chapter on new business creation, innovation, capability development, research. All right, governments start to spend money. For example, Singapore spends 3 to 4% of its GDP on research. And this is research just in the labs, doing either blue sky research, which may not have an end, or research that is development, the R and the D, and then commercialization. All right. So various sources of innovation come into place. There's the insourcing gate, the outsourcing gate, and innovation is about creating new marketplace, not tweaking the current marketplace, but creating a new marketplace, and that really is the real value of innovation. Now, this is a very important report. It's called Cities of Innovation, Startup Genome Report. I use the word ground zero innovation because that's where the genesis of innovation is. And it looks at the entrepreneur perspective, the investor perspective, and the policy perspective in driving innovation in these cities. And it's focused on technology innovation because I believe technology innovation has a multiplier effect. Once you are good in technology and you can multiply it through industries, through manufacturing, through development. So this list gives you the top 20 cities. And they look at different types of matrices. One is the mindset index, how oriented the psychology of the entrepreneur is towards innovation, his passion. The other one is the support index, mentorship. When I came to this part of this world, I found that mentorship was not a very used word. When we work with entrepreneurs in Dubai SME, when we introduce them to mentors, the entrepreneur is always thinking of WASDA. I mean, can you get me contracts? But we say that mentorship is not about that. Mentorship is about nurturing you as a sounding board. So the concept of mentorship is very strong where I come from in Singapore as well as in Europe and the States. The funding index. Funds are chasing startups to monetize their projects. All right, and then there's this output index. Startups are trying to create the next milestone to attract funding, to attract talent. All right, and of course the talent index is extremely critical in these startups. Where I come from in Singapore, I remember that when we ever had a research project, we made it multidisciplinary. So if it's a biomedical project, we made sure that there's IT personnel, the engineering personnel, the material science personnel, all coming together to do that research. So the list of top 20 cities, the startup cities, where is Dubai? Whither Dubai? So if you look at these cities, there are some key points you can discern. One is there's a market for innovation, technology innovation. There's a deep growing talent, scientific, engineering, risk, capital financiers, experts. Close links between research institutes and universities, which I find quite lacking in this part of the world. If you go to a research university in Dubai, we had a project with them, and when we asked them to commercialize some of their technologies, they said that this is not in our mission statement, and they have been told by the Ministry of Education that research is to be kept in the universities. We don't have interactions with the industry. Whereas I come from Singapore, if you look at the mission statements of the universities and researchers, part of the mission statement is to work with industry. All right? The labs are open 24/7. Small and medium enterprises can use the labs to do their tests. For example, you want to do a testing on food preservation. You can test it in the lab openly in Singapore. Right? So that linkage is very open. There's also government incentives, matching funds, comprehensive legal frameworks, including intellectual property, mentorship support, as well as comprehensive, competitive, specialized risk, which takes me to the whole concept of innovation at the highest level. What is Dubai? My sense is that after working here for 5 years, looking at the scene, cities that make innovation or cities that buy innovation, I would say that because of economic structure, Dubai is mainly a buyer of innovation. There are some pockets of excellence where Dubai is making innovation, but primarily we are buyers of innovation and not originators of innovation. All right? And therefore, the hierarchies of innovation is that there's the primary order, that means the top 20 cities that I showed you just now are primarily the originators of innovation, and secondary orders would be the cities that buy innovation. So where does Dubai fit spatially and temporally? Spatially, because I'm a geographer by training, so I always look at things from the space-time perspective, right? Time, 2013, Dubai is this stage. We are preparing our 2020 plan, all right? So in 2020, where will we be in terms of innovation? Now, this is a curve I always use to describe Dubai. For the last 10, 15 years, we've been pumping resources, building bridges, capital-intensive, labor-intensive. We need to go to a new path, all right, towards innovation and productivity, all right? So these are the two concepts that we are trying to push among the SME sectors. Now, this diagram shows you really the connection between innovation and economic value. Once you have cooperation between the labs, the industry, you spawn new companies, you spawn intellectual property, you spawn innovation, and this leads to company formation, value add in the real economy, and the output would be more jobs, good jobs, quality jobs, as well as GDP growth, as well as budgets for the economy and the government. Okay, I'll just give you some facts and figures about the Dubai SME sector. When I came 5 years ago, the first thing I asked is, what is the definition of SMEs in Dubai, small, medium enterprises? And we tend to lump this as one homogeneous creature. But believe me, the SME sector is terribly heterogeneous. And we looked at the definition for the first time, we worked with the Dubai Statistics Center, I think for about good 2 months, mined the data, and based on this data, we were able to create thresholds for the SMEs based in Dubai, trading, manufacturing, and services. Based on this definition, there are about 72,600 SMEs, or small and medium enterprises, based on this definition in Dubai, contributing 42% of the workforce and 40% of the GDP, or about 120 billion dirhams a year. Now, in terms of the business split, micro SMEs form 72% of the economy, enterprise population. And if you look at the sector-wise, trading, 57%, meaning to say that Dubai is heavily based on trading companies, micro, 2 men with a telephone in the office, in the creek, or in Dera. So that's the typical small micro SME in Dubai, trading. Now, if you look at size of firms, 60% are the large companies, right, by value add, and manufacturing, 13% of the SME sector. And in terms of workforce, 51% are from the services, SMEs. So a majority of the workforce in Dubai is in the services sector, B2B services, food services. So we did a survey on innovation among other dimensions of Dubai's SMEs. We find that manufacturing, although it's a smaller sector in Dubai, is the most innovative in terms of its output. All right? Trading has the lowest innovation orientation. So this report will be released end of the year. I will be pleased to share it with all of you. Now, what does Dubai SME do? We exist because we want to create new businesses in Dubai. All right? Because that's where more people will come. And with more people, more businesses, more fees, growth for the economy, growth for the GDP, growth for the budget. All right? There are 3 things we do. One is advocate. We advocate for a pro-business environment. We are against, the other government agencies that tend to have new regulations, new policies. Then we seed. All right? We seed startups. When we say seed, we look at the first 1,000 days. The first 1,000 days is that the SMEs are barely surviving. They are creating a track record. We give them incubation support to reduce their failure rates. So the first 1,000 days or the first 3 years is where the entrepreneur works with us very closely. Once they have a track record, we groom them, and we have a program called the Dubai SME 100, which was released last year. That program assumes that you have a track record, you're trying to build your company, you have a corporation, we give you business contacts, we give you networks. You are managing a $5 million company. It's different from you're managing a $500,000 company. Mindsets are different. You need different sets of nutrients. So our role is really to make Dubai the center for entrepreneurs and SMEs. Right? To us, when an entrepreneur starts a business, it's success. Starting is success. So we attract, support, and celebrate all the way. We are working with Kidsania with Emma in Dubai Mall. We want to start them young, as kids, as entrepreneurs. We have the young entrepreneur competition right all the way to the government procurement program. Right? We help our SMEs get contracts from the government. And we're working with Nasdaq Dubai also to see whether we can help SMEs raise funds in the IPO market. So we do quite a variety of things. Now, observations for Dubai. We have a vibrant entrepreneurship born from our status as a Cosmo residency. Right? We have 220 nationalities, and the predisposition for new businesses is there. We are primarily a buyer of innovation, adopter of new business model. It's no surprise that Dubai is a franchise city. We buy a lot of franchises. All right? Our focus on innovation is on lifestyle, marketing and business model, F&B, customized gadgetry. If you look at here, many of the big brands like Givenchy or Louis Vuitton, they customize the perfumes, the handbags to this part of the market, special materials. All right? There is also this thought that I always say that, innovate and make elsewhere and sell in and through Dubai, right? Because Dubai is a trading hub, we buy the goods and we resell overseas. There's a low level of activity, R&D activity. I've not heard of many universities doing R&D activity. We had a case where there was a brilliant research in one of the universities here. We talked to them, can you commercialize your technology? We gave them all the tools, the recommendations, but they went to the board and the board said, sorry, innovation is not our part of our education system, in the university, and therefore the project was killed. And it was really a pity. And therefore, this lab to market is something that we currently lack. And Singapore built that 15 to 20 years ago, all right? It's so fluid, the flow between industry and university lecturers are very, very close. There's a critical mass of what I call the SMET, S-M-E-T, science, mathematics, engineering, and technology talent. In Singapore, we are obsessed with statistics and mathematics. So at a young age, we are trained, we try to deconstruct and analyze projects, all right? There's a relatively lack of risk capital, what I call the virtuous invest churn, all right? Churning where you invest in the technology, you grow, you exit, and you use your funds to hunt for new projects in the technology sphere. I find that also in this part of the world, there's a lack of a dedicated agency with political patronage, like a Minister for Technology Innovation, all right? I've not seen an R&D plan in Dubai where it fits into the economic development sphere of the country. So some innovative SMEs, these examples of innovative SMEs in Singapore is that they work with the labs, all right? One-stop, Singapore is famous for its water technology, recycling, agro-businesses. There's also a kit to analyze food reactions. So these are some of the companies. And what does Dubai have? Just Falafel, the top SME this year's ranking. All right, business model, transformation of a simple poor man's Arabic snack into a global business. That's its business model innovation. Micro-automation, a microchip device in safety plugs, a factory that is based in Jebel Ali. But the sad truth is that no banks want to fund this project, and it's actually getting its fund from a Belgian bank. So again, this is a very sad case where our banks here and our investors are not keen to see such innovations. WMS, a patented refuse sorting system that is now doing great businesses in Saudi, and they registered their patents in the US, right, not in UAE. Merlin Digital, another company that does brilliant personalized gadgetry for the global consumer, designed here but manufactured in China. So putting it all together, this is a very crowded slide. To grow companies from micro, small, and medium, these are the ingredients you need. I mean, what I've just mentioned. You need a champion for innovation. You need an exit market. You need people who are experts in valuing technology, IP, commercialization, infrastructure support, opening your research lab, all right, to as many industry players, starting young, focusing on entrepreneurship and apprenticeship, which is also key. With that, I thank you.